Hello, everyone. You're listening to a Pima Community College campus update for Desert Vista campus. I'm Edgar Soto, the acting vice president at Desert Vista campus. And with us today is Chris Rodriguez. He is our supervisor of student affairs over at Desert Vista campus. So just want to welcome you, Chris. We're going to talk about some interesting things today. Chris and I have been working on some pretty neat things that I'm excited about. And so we're going to talk about some of those things, talk about some ways we can continue to support our students, faculty, staff, and then also just share a little bit about Chris. So Chris, welcome. And I just want to start off, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go to college?
Oh, thank you, Edgar. Well, I'm from Tucson originally. I was born and raised here. I went to Pueblo High School, and then I came to Pima after that. Actually, my mom worked for Pima for a number of years.
Oh, wow. What area?
She was in marketing and information for a while. And so I knew a lot of the district office. Actually, matter of fact, their offices used to be on Stone, just north of downtown campus. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was her first office. So I've had I remember Pima as a young
kid. Did she retire from Pima?
No, she actually ended up moving over to U of A, and she finished up there, and she's actually working at TUSD now. But so then after I graduated high school, came to Pima, did my 2+ year plan here, mm-hmm. and then I always wanted to do history, so I knew that was going to be my major. And then I was here between U of A and here, and then I went to NAU, ended up at NAU, and then I taught for about 7 years at TUSD, and then for a charter high school, and then I got a position as an upward bound coordinator at the East Campus.
All right. So where did you teach at in TUSD?
At Tucson High for a couple of years.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What year were you there at Tucson High? I actually taught world history for a year at Tucson High. So
01 to 03.
Okay. I was there like in 92, 93.
Yeah.
All right. So that's pretty cool. I didn't realize you were a teacher also.
Yeah, I taught for a little bit.
Well, so one of the other things that I was always fascinated when I go talk to you in your office, and I noticed a picture that you have there in your office. It was an article, and so I know we had a discussion about that, but tell me about that picture, and then tell me why you have it up there.
So that picture, I just saw it in the paper one day, and I have another similar picture at my house, but from a book that I saw, and I saw this one, and it was right when the war in Aleppo started in Syria. There was a gentleman outside of his house at which got shelled, and he was, feeding his infant daughter, mm-hmm. And I thought, man, that's like a really grab you image, right? Mm-hmm. Because here it is, his father, he's trying to, has all this stuff to deal about, and then he has a baby. And my daughter was born around the time that, unfortunately, the war in Syria started, so that really impacted me because I thought, I may have bad days and there may be bad things that happen to me, but I wasn't in the scenario that this gentleman was in where, I'm not in the middle of an active war zone trying to care for a child. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt or something of that nature.
Well, I love that picture because when I saw it, I was like, wow, we do have a lot of challenges here, things going on, but you kind of look around and you see what's going on in other parts of the world, and it gives you some gratitude that we do have a lot of things going right here. I know at Pima sometimes we focus on things that aren't going right, but I know that we have a lot of good things happening, a lot of good things going on, and that what I really love about what we're doing here at Pima is that we're constantly improving. And on that note, what I wanted to share with you, so you and I talked a little bit about building some pathways, not pathways that our deans are building, but building the scheduling. Because one of the challenges I think we've had at Desert Vista campus is that we meet with these students and they're excited about taking classes. Class at Desert Vista is close to their house, but a lot of times we have to send them to other campuses because we don't have all the classes there at Desert Vista campus. Do you see that happening a lot?
There's times when there are particular courses or schedules that don't mesh, and so students will have to make adjustments to basically attend another campus. Mm-hmm. And we try to minimize that as much as possible, not having them to travel too far or finding courses that would fit in their programs that wouldn't require them to travel larger amounts of distance.
Yeah. Well, so those are the things that we're kind of exploring. I shared this with Morgan that we're looking at some of the classes that are popular for Desert Vista students or that area, and then trying to build these pathways. And I know I put one together for liberal arts, kind of a basic one. and then you took a look at that and you actually made it better. You put some sun classes in there, and just the classes. We're not really putting together, the actual pathway. We're just putting together the classes. So I sent that to Morgan Phillips, our president, and he comes back to me and tells me, "Great job, Edgar. You did a good job on this, and the you entered developmental ed in there, and you did this and that." I was like, "Wow, Morgan, thank you. I appreciate it." But really, it was Chris Rodriguez. So you kind of had a pretty good idea on how to do that. And is that because you work with these students so often that you could see what classes are needed, and you kind of understand that a lot of our students do have to have some developmental ed or some of the co-requisite type classes that they might not test into, like, so for example, they might have to take, instead of a writing 101, they might have to take a writing 101S or that type of thing. Is that why you're able to kind of connect with that so well?
Yeah, and I believe too, if you look at our statistics and data, that a lot of us students coming in, I want to say something like 70% of our students test into at least one developmental track. I may be wrong on that, but I mean, there's a number in there similar to that. So students generally have at least one developmental ed course that they have to do while they're here at Pima. We've gotten a lot better of minimizing and shortening that track for students to do like co-requisites and things of that nature, so they're not spending that much time in developmental ed courses. There's some data that shows that students who are taking developmental ed courses generally stop out quicker than those that don't. So things that like Dr. Jeff Thesis put together for the multiple measures packets, moving students quicker through that pathways, through the developmental education pathways is something that will help students get through. And so I just know generally that a student will pick up one or two dev ed courses while they're here at Pima now with our new systems.
Well, I think we've done a good job, because whenever there's a class that's needed, like a Math 142 or another history class, we've been able to add those classes, ESL classes. So that's been good for us, being able to add either it's a 14-week or maybe another 8-week classes. So I know we're trying to accommodate the students and adjust to that. But I think from here on out, I think we've got a pretty good idea on how to create this pathway. What are some things that you think that are going right at Pima? Like, what are some things that you think we're doing well that we need to do more of? And then if you have any thoughts on some things that you feel we can do to improve at Pima.
So, some of the things, my previous role to the one I'm in was with the program advising. And so I really liked the idea that we did with that in terms of students need connections to the college. And that's not even necessarily just with advising, just in general. Students need connections to the college in order to be successful. And those students who make those connections, even if it's in a federal work study position or some other manner that they've made connection with somebody at the university, those students tend to generally do better and persist than those that don't. So the program advisors play a crucial role, in my opinion, in that development of that connections to the college. And so that's something that I thought was really well. It supports the pathway initiatives. It supports the 15 to finish initiatives. And so it really helps all of those things. It also we've also seen data that students who have a connection, like we said, will continue and persist and then kind of graduate, or transfers, which we really want that to see happen. And so their ability to tie to somebody at the campus will help them out, get basic questions answered, right? They're more likely to answer those questions because they have that connection to somebody rather than just being, seeing random people.
So when you say somebody, are you talking advisors, counselor, faculty, staff?
All of it.
All of it?
And so, yeah, all of it. Somebody, it could even be, I remember I saw this story about this one time, this student whose father was a custodial member at a university, but his connection to that university was through his father. Yeah. So his father wasn't even on the faculty or academic or student services side. He was a custodial member of that institution. And yet that student, persisted and got through because that was something that tied him to that university. Yeah. And so our ability to do that with, our faculty members, our program advisors, student life, whomever the student connects with, that's the most important thing. Yeah. From an academic student affairs point of view, having that connection to a program advisor, I think is critical, or an assigned advisor or an enrollment advisor or a counselor, I think is critical to the success of the institution.
I think I remember that story or a similar one. I remember there was it was a groundskeeper that every time, he'd be working outside in front of the college, and that student would come by, hey, good to see you, keep working hard, and would just give these positive words of encouragement. And the student later on said that was like huge for him, like he needed those encouragements. So I see that everybody being part of the process and encouraging students and meeting them where they're at. One of the other things you and I have talked about is advising, but scheduled advising, because I know a lot of times we end up getting these peak hours and there's long lines and they want advising, and sometimes we have to rush them through. Tell me a little bit about your ideas, thoughts, plan, or what you think can help with that, how that scheduled advising could help us.
Well, I think eventually or ultimately we could, move to a more appointment-based advising system,
Okay.
With cohort, assigned advising model. I mean, we do have Pima Connect, and Pima Connect has the option to offer appointments there. You also get a list of students that are assigned to you as an advisor or a counselor, and you can then make those connections through the Pima Connect. And my understanding is, starting this semester and going forward, any students newly enrolled into the college will be automatically placed into Pima Connect. And so going forward, we'll have the option of using this tool to really connect students to their advisors, their faculty, their support, like veteran affairs and financial aid individuals. And then potentially, as far as advising goes, having the opportunity to really start having students come in, say in October, when the schedule opens for the next semester, to really start to sit down with somebody and talk about these things.
Well, you said something that just really kind of gave me a thought here. So you said cohorts, like advising in cohorts. So one of the things in my previous life, I was athletics, and we'd get teams, and they would actually do, like, it's almost cohort advising. So you'd have the whole baseball team or the whole soccer team come in, an advisor would come in and kind of talk to the whole group. Everybody had different programs of study, most likely, but they all had the same type of schedule where they needed to be free from 2 to 6 p.m., every day. So that makes sense. But I think even using, appointment advising, but with a cohort, that would help as far as, so you're not having to meet with one person for 30 minutes every time. So yeah, I mean, we should probably explore that a little more. Well, I know we're getting close to the end here. I think we got about a few minutes left, but I just wanted to finish up by saying, is there anything else you'd want to share or say, or if people want to get connected with you or talk to you? I know you're always been open to come speak to, whether it's faculty, staff. How should we go about getting connected with you?
Well, like, I know I share a lot of information with the larger campus community, and I'll continue to do that. And anybody who wants to reach out to me and ask questions about student affairs or anything that related to admission and records and things of that nature that I can then either go out and research or help, I'm always open to help everybody on the campus. So my door is always open for anybody on the campus.
Right, well, great. Well, thank you for sitting with me today and sharing some things and your knowledge. We appreciate it. Thank you for all you do. And if you want to stay connected with me, you can always stop by my office or send me an email or even make a phone call. So I appreciate all that you do, Chris. I appreciate all that we're doing at Desert Vista campus, and let's keep moving forward. Have a great day.
Thank you, Edgar.